Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. In today's episode, we are in the Miracle Mile district of Los Angeles, which is a really cool area because, well, it's on Wilshire Boulevard. It's a really wide street, but there's also quite a few stores and a lot of things to explore right here, like the Museum Row, which is the area of Los Angeles that has a ton of museums, including the Brea Tar Pits, which is really historic because, well, they found quite a few dinosaurs right here, and I've always loved dinosaurs, so yeah, I can't wait to go there. So without any further ado, let's explore. In the early 1920s, Wilshire Boulevard west of Western Avenue was an unpaved farm road, extending through dairy farms and bean fields. Developer A.W. Ross saw potential for the area and developed Wilshire as a commercial district to rival downtown Los Angeles. As wealth and newcomers poured into the fast-growing city, Ross's parcel became one of Los Angeles' most desirable areas. Acclaimed as America's Champs-Élysées, the stretch of Wilshire Boulevard near the Brea Tar Pits was named Miracle Mile for its improbable rise to prominence. The Miracle Mile is really known to have quite a few office buildings, and some of them are more prominent and more important than others, kind of like this building behind me, which is the building for the SAG-AFTRA, which is the union for the actors, radio people, from television to actually really big budget movies, and they make sure that everybody is paid correctly on set, that everything is handled correctly to union standards. They also do a bunch of residual stuff too. And yeah, the building is pretty big, it's pretty important, and it's right here on Wilshire, right next to the Brea Tar Pits, so you can kind of smell a little bit the tar. It's very slight. It's still a very good area of the city, but yeah, I'm a movie buff. I'm into acting and all this stuff, so seeing this building, well, I'm kind of geeking out. The Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, SAG-AFTRA, stylized the SAG-AFTRA as an American labor union representing approximately 160,000 people. Nearly all professional actors and media professionals working for medium or large-scale American media firms are expected to be unionized. As a result, SAG-AFTRA has many members who are consistently out of work, uncommon for a union, but reflective of how work is procured in the industry. One thing that is really known at the Miracle Mile is the Brea Tar Pits, which are located in Hancock Park, which is a pretty large park adjacent to Wilshire Boulevard. And this park is really known, one, for the Brea Tar Pits, but at the same time for all of its museums inside the park. They have a dinosaur museum because of the tar pits, but then they also have the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, which is a free museum, but also, well, it's free for people that are from California, but then they also have exhibits, and during the summer they have a bunch of outdoor concerts and there's picnic areas. It's just quite a lot of things to do in this area. So yeah, since California is usually pretty sunny, well, this is the perfect place to come if you want to enjoy your day. Hancock Park was created in 1924 when George Allen Hancock donated 23 acres of the Hancock Ranch with the stipulation that the park be preserved and the fossils properly exhibited. Located on Wilshire Boulevard just east of Fairfax Avenue, it extends across a large city block and around 2 museums. The park is named for its benefactor, George Hancock, a California petroleum industry pioneer who recognized the scientific importance of the fossils found in the asphaltic deposits. He inherited the 3,000-acre Rancho La Brea in 1883 that included the Brea Tar Pits and found animal bones when digging for oil. Definitely the Brea Tar Pits are bigger than what people would expect or imagine, because they almost look like a lake in the middle of the park until you look at the tar pits and then you see little bubbles coming out, and obviously it smells like tar. But what I do appreciate about these tar pits is the fact that they built some life-size statues of the mammoths, kind of like how they fell into the tar pits, to kind of recreate those moments. And I love dinosaurs, as I mentioned, so seeing these lifelike statues is kind of surreal. It almost makes you feel like you're walking in prehistoric times amongst those mammoths. But yeah, as I said, it's really cool. And then there's the museum that's also in the park that shows quite a lot of stuff that happened right here. And me being Californian, well, between the hours of 3 to 5, well, it's free. I just have to show my ID. Regular admission is $15, but it's still worth it. It's cool to always go to museums, and as I said, this park is truly a piece of history, and it's just cool to walk in. The Libre tarpits are composed of heavy oil fractions called gilsonite, which seeps from the earth as oil. The seepage has been happening for tens of thousands of years, during which the asphalt sometimes formed a deposit thick enough to trap animals. The deposit would become covered over with water, dust, or leaves. Animals would wander in, becoming trapped and die. The George C. Page Museum of Libre Discoveries, part of the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County, was built next to the tar pits. The museum tells the story of the tar pits and presents specimens excavated from them. Of more than 100 pits, only Pit 91 is still regularly excavated by researchers and can be seen as the Pit 91 viewing station. In addition to Pit 91, the one other ongoing excavation is called Project 23. Paleontologists supervise and direct the work of volunteers at both sides. The Los Angeles County Museum of Art is truly a huge and really astounding building. This museum is actually so big that it is the biggest art museum on the West Coast, with over 150,000 pieces inside of this museum. And because it is so big and it is so darn cool, it attracts over 1 million visitors every single year. And as I showed you guys, it's adjacent to Hancock Park and the Brea Tar Pits, and there's a lot of art outside, inside, and it's just so cool. It goes from old art to modern art, and it has a ton of exhibits every single year. But yeah, it's really worth the visit, and if you ever come to California, you can't miss it because it's truly and probably the best museum out here. LACMA was founded in 1961, splitting from the Los Angeles Museum of History, Science, and Art. 4 years later, it moved to the Wilshire Boulevard complex designed by William Pereira. The museum's wealth and collections grew in the 1980s, and it added several buildings beginning in the decade and continued in subsequent decades. In 2020, 4 buildings on the campus were demolished to make way for a reconstructed facility designed by Petersen. His design drew strong community opposition and was lambasted by architectural critics and museum curators who objected to its reduced gallery space, poor design, and exorbitant costs. Along with other museums that have consigned works to auction in the past, LACMA has been sharply criticized for pruning its art holdings. I must admit, I don't really know what they were thinking when they built this whole rock on top of this kind of structure. I guess you can walk under it, but I don't really see what's fascinating about it. This area used to actually be all green and people could walk, and it was an extension of the park, but now it's kind of desert-like and there's this big boulder in the middle. I guess it's okay, but I don't really see the artwork in it, and I don't really see the point in it. But yeah, it's here, it's artwork, and yeah, if you don't like this, the LACMA is really cool. Levitated Mass is a 2012 large-scale public art sculpture by Michael Hazer. The installation consists of a 340-ton boulder sculpture placed above a 456-foot viewing pathway to accommodate a 360-degree viewing. Hazer rarely explains or comments on his work and has never offered a public explanation of Levitated Mass's meaning or significance. One of the most prominent art pieces here on Wilshire Boulevard is the Urban Light, which is adjacent to the LACMA Museum. It's a really cool installation. It was done in 2008, and it's made out of lamps from the 1920s and 1930s that had been retired, but now they're back in commission and they're part of this art piece. Of course, this is the day, so they're not lit up, but at night it's really, really cool because they all light up. And yeah, it is pretty famous on Instagram because a lot of people love taking pictures right here, but who can blame them? It's a really cool art piece. It's stupendous, and it's kind of out here in the middle of the city. It's kind of weird to see it, but it's awesome. Apart from the LACMA and the Tar Pits, the Museum Row and the Miracle Mile has 2 other really important museums. The Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, which is a museum constructed by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, devoted to the history, science, and cultural impact of the film industry. It is the first large-scale museum of its kind. Then there's also the Petersen Automotive Museum, which is one of the world's largest automotive museums, specializing in automobile history and related educational programs. Being in Hollywood, they also have a large collection of movie cars. As for the museum building, it looks surreal with its red painted corrugated aluminum rain screen system, which acts as the backdrop for a series of stainless steel structural ribbons. Another unmissable place here at the Miracle Mile is the Grove, which is an outdoor mall, and it's really, really cool. There's a lot of places to go and eat at, to have a coffee at, to go shopping at. And on top of that, they also have an outdoor fountain that is really, really cool. It does a bunch of shows at different times of the day, and they have a bunch of music. And then there's also the Farmers Market, which is a really cool place. It's actually a historic place because it's existed for so long, but they don't just have fruits and vegetables that come from farms. They also have a bunch of restaurants and a lot of different types of food. So there's really something for every kind of palate. So when you are at the Miracle Mile and you're feeling a little bit peckish and wanting to do a little bit of shopping, the Grove is the place to go. The complex fills space previously occupied by an orchard and nursery, which were the last remains of a dairy farm owned by A.F. Gilmore in the latter part of the 19th century. The Grove features a large central park with an animated fountain designed by W.E.T. An internal transit system uses electric-powered trolley cars to link the Grove and the adjacent farmers market. The main entertainment venue at the Grove is a 14-screen movie theater complex owned by AMC. The original farmers market, located adjacent to the Grove and owned by the A.F. Gilmore Company, features numerous non-chain restaurants that have existed there for sometimes decades. Miracle Mile truly has it all, from museums to parks to shopping areas to cafes and restaurants. And on top of that, it's located in a really convenient place of Los Angeles because it is on the west side, but it's not Santa Monica, it's not downtown, it's really in between, so you can go to both areas whenever you feel like it. But with that being said, I think that this is probably the perfect place to end this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed coming on this visit of the Miracle Mile. And if you did enjoy it, please be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, leave me a comment too. Let me know if there's maybe other places in California you'd like me to visit, or in LA that you'd like me to visit, or maybe other states and countries. I could probably make that happen. Okay, have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.